Hi students, and welcome to your first social studies lesson for online learning. As I am going to say in probably every video, I miss you guys so much, and I can't wait until we are back together in the classroom. Thank you for being patient and being very helpful as we have reset your passwords and as we're learning to navigate the online learning platforms that we're using. I know that all of your teachers love and appreciate all of you so much for all the work that you're doing, and we just want to keep encouraging you to keep learning throughout this time so that you can be set up for success whenever we come back to the classroom. So here's our first social studies lesson. We are going to be going through chapter 3, lesson 3 from our books. So that's on American Indians of the Mountains and Plains. We first talked about the two groups, the Caddo and the Karankawa, and today we're going to be learning about 3 more groups. So I already said hello, so our social studies joke of the day. Person 1 says, "Why aren't you doing well in history?" And person 2 says, "Well, the teacher keeps asking me about things that happened before I was born." Get it? Because history is all in the past. But history is also happening as we are living. So, it's just a quick little joke. Next thing. So our job today, we have 2 teaks that we're going to be putting into one objective. Or we're going to be pulling, I should say, from 2 teaks to be putting into our objective. So our 2 teaks, read along as I read them to you. Teaks 4.1b. Identify American Indian groups in Texas and North America before European exploration, such as the Lipan Apache, Karankawa, Caddo, and Jumano. Teaks 4.1d. Compare the ways of life of American Indian groups in Texas and North America before European exploration. So, our objective today, the learner will identify American Indian groups, like you're pulling back your bow and arrow, in Texas and North America before European exploration and compare their ways of life. I'll do it again. The learner will identify American Indian groups in Texas and North America before European exploration and compare their ways of life. All right, let's get started. So, in your Google Classroom on this assignment, there is a lesson worksheet that is attached. It's basically this big grid looking thing right here. Okay, and here are the categories up close so you can see what they are. It basically has the American Indian group, when they lived, where they lived, the style of government, how they settled, and any remarkable things about their culture. So, as we go along, you can fill out this chart, or you may use your own worksheet and take notes on each group as we go along, just to make sure that you note down everything in these categories. So, next one. All right, the Whoman. They lived about 500 years ago near the Rio Grande River, so that is West Texas, kind of near El Paso. Their style of government was that a chief governed each village or pueblo. They were mostly nomadic in the summertime, whenever they were able to hunt buffalo. But in the winter, they settled near their trading partners so that they could get their needs met. The Whoman were kind of the friends to everybody. They made alliances with most Native American groups so that they could trade for food and supplies when they needed it. So one thing to note about the Whoman, some Whoman were always nomadic. They were hunting buffalo and they lived in those in teepees or large tents all year round, while others always lived in pueblos or villages near the Rio Grande, and they farmed the area. Now, there were some that, like I said, that were nomadic in the summer, and in the winter they settled near their trade partners. There were definitely more than one tribe of Humano. So these different groups settled differently. And it was one or two ways or a combination of both. So now we're going to watch a quick video about the Humano.
The Whoman were a group of Native Americans, but who were they?
Sorry about that, I had to go back. The video will not play.
The Whoman were a group of Native Americans, but who were they really? The Whoman are often considered a bit of a historical enigma. It is difficult to know for certain whether Humano was the Spaniards' name for one group or for many. The Whoman were centered in the Rio Grande region in an area stretching from El Paso to Big Bend, but they often traveled a long way a ways. They hunted buffalo and in wet years farmed on riverbanks, eating pumpkins, maize, squash, and many other gourds and vegetables. They also ate agave, cactus fruit, and mesquite beans. The Whoman had an odd way of cooking their food. They would heat stones in a fire and use a pair of sticks to take the stones out and drop them into a calabash. Then, once the water started to boil, they would pour in whatever they wanted to cook. When the stones started to cool, they would lift the stones out and drop them back into the fire, then pick up more stones and repeat the process. The Whoman wore clothes made out of skins. The women wore a poncho with a skirt, while the men wore a simple breechcloth. The men shaved the sides of their heads and wore their hair in a ponytail on top, often with feathers. The women wore their hair loose or in the same ponytail as the men, but longer. They also had permanent tattoos. The Whoman were skilled diplomats and had alliances with dozens of tribes. They traded not only in goods but also information that they had picked up on their long travels. When the Spanish appeared, the Whoman thought it would be a good idea to ally themselves with these powerful newcomers, especially with the ongoing drought and the threat of their enemy, the Apaches. However, they were unable to get a satisfactory alliance, and soon they seemingly disappeared. There are many theories of what happened to them, one being that they ended up allying with or getting absorbed by the Apaches. There is a group of Native Americans that call themselves the Apache Whoman. They claim that the Whoman have not disappeared and they are applying for national recognition.
Excellent. Okay, next group, the Comanche. Like they mentioned in the video that we just watched, the Comanche were fierce and they were feared by a lot of groups. So they lived around the 1700s and they came down from the mountains to live in what is now Texas. They chose a chief only during times of conflict, and they were mostly nomadic. And to further elaborate, they before Europeans got to Texas, the Comanche used dogs to carry their belongings as they traveled. But when Europeans came to America and introduced horses, it changed the lives of the Comanche forever. The Comanche became expert horse riders. They were able to move quickly. whenever they were in battle with their enemies, they were able to really work to defeat them fast. So they became expert riders, and they used horses to effectively take control of the whole region, and also to carry their belongings, as they no longer needed dogs to do that. So here's a quick video on the Comanche.
Today, the image of Indians on horseback is iconic. But Native Americans never set eyes on a horse before the 15th century, when Europeans bring them to America as a weapon of conquest. The Comanche and other native peoples adapt the horse as a powerful ally in the fight to protect their land and way of life.
This rock art tells a story. This is commemorating an event, a very successful horse raid.
We're looking at possibly the beginning of our empire as Comanche people on horseback. It's just amazing.
The panel is just one of hundreds found in this gorge, created by Jane's ancestors. These images in Comanche oral history are rewriting the story of Native America in the wake of European colonialism.
We're seeing the first encounter between the Spanish here, the Comanche, and the horse.
The rock art may memorialize a pivotal moment in history. A battle in which the Comanche seized the horse.
Nama apa buku nama wakatu takai. Sumet nana tehoichi tekap nama na nama ni haniku. Nare yaku navitaku wohomiai. Apa taven sonipka suakat. Surita tehoya sonip atekci ca nesukat. Tanetsa tehoya maai tave terete.
To the Comanche, the horse is a gift from the Creator.
Tama te tenane te yai mahimiatsi te asa wumnazi. Sura exapana nama tehuya nama namanai na supanai. So ti nama tehuya himaina tehuya oyoko uri kutkui. Sita tea pöpi pahavi. Piasama ti nama tehuya wurtokwe.
After U.S. troops slaughter the Comanche herd, Quanah Parker, the last free Comanche chief, surrenders.
I want people to see us and just think, oh my gosh, that person is Comanche. Those people, they're not historical. They're still alive today. Look, they're thriving.
And the spirit of the horse remains at the heart of the Comanche Nation. When the moon is full, the Comanche believe those Mustangs massacred in the Texas Panhandle still run free.
Ite Sokovitsa Nansuakait. Ite Tuya Suap Sa Natsu. Sumet Nanu Usuni Numanaitoi. Usuni Numanait.
Awesome. Okay, so the next group we're learning about is the Lipan Apache. They lived about more than 600 years ago in southwestern United States. So West Texas, again, we're looking, towards El Paso, in the Rio Grande Valley. Their style of government, they had leaders of each family and then a band leader for a group of several families. So they settled, initially they didn't settle down in one place. They were nomadic, and their culture depended on their culture depended on hunting buffalo, both for food and for clothing. And then when they did settle, eventually they farmed. So, like the Comanche, the Lipan Apache, they had dogs carry their belongings until horses arrived in America, when they became expert riders, like the Comanche. They were not known to be as fearsome as the Comanche, but they were still definitely a very interesting culture to look at. So, one last video, and then we're going to get to our assignment.
Infotopia presents Texas Indians, the Apaches. The Apaches arrived in the Southwest between 1000 and 1400 AD. Two groups, the Lipan Apaches and the Mescalero Apaches, lived in Texas. Their name, Apache, may have come from the Zuni word Apachu, meaning enemy. They called themselves Inde or Dine, meaning the people. Apaches lived in extended families with one person serving as the leader. The male leader for several groups was called the band leader. Sometimes the groups came together for social gatherings or to help defend the groups. Females were important. Following a marriage, the husband moved in with his wife's family. For many years, the Apaches were nomads and depended on the buffalo for their clothing and shelter. They were the first Indians after the Pueblos to ride horses. Later, they built rancherias of small huts, and they planted fields of maize, beans, pumpkins, and watermelons. Because of their planting times, the Comanche knew when and where to find them and defeat them. Because of the Comanche raids, the Apaches grew weaker and the Comanches became stronger. Many groups of Apaches moved to New Mexico and Arizona, but the Lipans and Mescaleros moved to central Texas and northern Mexico. When San Antonio was founded by the Spanish in 1718, the Apaches continued with attacks against them. Finally, in 1749, peace was established between the Spanish and the Apaches. To learn more about
All right. So our job today was to identify American Indian groups in Texas and North America before European exploration and compare their ways of life through our grid worksheet, and learning about three new groups. We have been able to achieve our objective for today. So for this assignment, you can pick 2 of the 3 American Indian groups that we talked about in today's lesson, and I will extend that to the Caddo and the Karankawa as well if you want to write about them. What I want you to do is write 2 to 3 paragraphs about how the 2 groups are similar and different. Remember to write incomplete sentences. There is a Venn diagram PDF attached so that you can write out your thoughts before you start writing. So you can write things you know about your first group, about your second group, and then you can find how they are similar, jot a couple of thoughts down. So that'll be your drafting page. And then whenever you are done with the Venn diagram, then you can write it down on line paper. You can type it, whatever you want, and then submit it to Google Classroom when you are finished. Now, please go to the assignment page on Google Classroom. There is a Google form, MOL, for you to complete after our lesson. All right, guys, that's the end of this social studies lesson. Thank you so much for your attention. This video will remain up if you need it. The PowerPoint will also be found in your assignments on Google Classroom. So until I see you next, keep working hard, and I miss you very much. Bye!